He was born March 2nd, 1996, the son of Hamlet out of Joe Mara. He was originally named Opel, but his name was changed to honor the hallowed grounds in southern England. Perhaps he was destined for what lay ahead of him. As soon as they started to call him Hiksted, one of the greatest horse shows in the world. However, Hiksted showed none of that in his early years.
I went to see him actually as a 4-year-old. He was very wild, you know, it was a big jump then, but he was wild. And I was supposed to go try him again and I didn't, and I've regretted it ever since.
Already 7 years old, his days were spent in Belgium training to be a show jumper. However, he had already been passed over by the U.S. equestrian team and Canadian star Mac Cone.
As we know, he wasn't a huge horse, but that didn't bother me at all. And we pretty much jumped a fairly tall vertical, and everything felt great. And then we decided, well, let's jump an oxer. And he had a very peculiar style, and he kept it his whole career, actually. He would jump fairly square. He'd leave, go, come down. But even over a not too big of a jump, it didn't give you this great, wonderful, best horse in the world feel that he ended up being. You just couldn't feel it, and it didn't look that promising either.
So when Eric Lamaz rolled into Steffek's stables just outside Brussels on a European buying trip, Hiksted really was just another horse in the barn.
I didn't think very much of him. He was very strong, jumped a little bit low over the small fences, and was really unmanageable. So my first impression is for an investment horse, this wasn't going to work. This European trip was really slow. Stefan said, why don't we give it another trial? We're close. I said, all right, let's go try it. We tried it in an indoor ring, and he was even wilder than when they came when they brought it to Steffek's for us to try. There were so many things he was doing wrong, but there were so many things he was doing right. And I couldn't get him out of my mind, and at the end we ended up buying him.
Now owned by American John Fleischacker, Hiksted's new home was Canada and Torrey Pines Stable. But the summer of 2004 was not so sweet for Eric and his new purchase.
Several times we considered selling the horse because he just couldn't get the job done.
He came to the master here to go back to Europe with the European horses that were here. That was the plan. I had tried all I could to jump the water fences with him, which he stopped so many times at. He was difficult with the in-gate, was just really unrideable. The one thing he is always careful, but I did not see where this was going. I really felt I had made a mistake buying Hiksted. Since he was coming to the master, I decided to put him in some classes anyway. I did the meter 30 here and with him, and he jumped out of this world, never looked at any fences, behaved like an angel, and I decided to keep him on board.
Remarkably, that innocent third-place finish at Spruce Meadows had given both horse and rider the confidence to stick it out. And from that day forward, both seemed to know they were a team.
I think he just learned to trust me, and everything he did bad was from not trusting the riders. He was just such a careful horse that with the water, it wasn't the water he was afraid of, it was actually the takeoff spot, that he would get there the wrong way, and this would be a difficult or an impossible fence for him to jump.
He had a crooked right front foot, and I think actually conformation-wise he wasn't that great. But there was something in his eyes, you could tell that there was something very special there.
In human terms, he was kind of like a point guard in basketball. Medium size, not a tremendous stature, but his proportions were excellent. So not like a marathon runner, and not like a heavyweight boxer, more like a sprinter.
He had a longer stride for a little horse. Some horses have a little choppy stride, but he had a big stride. He basically had a big motor behind that pushed him out, and he was a very quick horse to be able to do it, and so he moved quickly across the ground.
Hiksted had, I would say, had like a really his own engine, and you could feel like there was a lot of power underneath you. You know, the canter was very like powerful. You know,
2 years and a wealth of worldwide experience brought the Torrey Pines crew to the familiar grounds of Spruce Meadows in the fall of 2007. This time, they brought with them a horse ready for the big stage. And on that September day in Calgary, there was none bigger.
Oh, that little rub there. I can tell you one thing. If there's anybody who wants this rider to win, it is this crowd. They are cheering. They are on the edge of their seats. They want him to jump a clear round.
It was a special thing. I have such great memory of the crowd loving this horse. It's one thing to hear it, and it's another thing to feel your horse feeling it. And this horse felt it.
One jump to go, and Эрик Ламаз is our first double clear round. Can he do it?
Time will not be a problem. There is the leader of the CN International, Canada's Эрик Lamaz with Hiksted, with one entry left to go.
And
wow.
The crowd goes wild. Sitting up, steady, steady. Oh my goodness, and another stop. We saw it with Lauren Huff, we saw it with Nick Skelton.
And there we see the champion. There is an elated athlete, Эрик Ламaz, as it's academic now as Arco finishes up in the stadium.
The winter of 2007 quickly became the spring of 2008, and all eyes were on China. It was an Olympic year, and suddenly, Hiksted was not the hunter, but the hunted. And the small bay horse continued to deliver. A win in Florida, a win in Charlotte, and 2 more huge wins at Spruce. And just like that, Hiksted rolled into Hong Kong as one of the favorites to win Olympic gold.
The 4 of us all knew that we had a super horse on our side.
Having Hiksted on your team was like having a nuclear weapon, you know. I mean, he just knocked off double clears, so you came to expect it.
Hiksted and Lamaz lived up to the billing, helping Canada to an Olympic silver in the team competition. And clear round after clear round left them on the brink of Olympic gold.
Just to go around the individual finals of the Olympic Games without a single mistake flawlessly was just unbelievable to watch, and watch it with the Canadian flag on his chest. That was cool.
2 to go. Just the last for Lamaz. He's there. Эрик Lamaz of Canada.
There's a jump off for gold.
Terrific effort.
A jump off for gold between Sweden's Rolf Goran-Bengtsson, who...
That particular horse was so good that there's not many times you can go in an arena in a competition and it's strictly up to you, because your horse is not going to do anything wrong.
Эрик Lamaz of Canada aboard Hiksted. This for the gold medal.
One more to go for a gold medal for Canada. His time is fine. He's going to make sure he gets this right. He gets it right! He not only gets it right, he gets a gold medal for Canada.
Эрик Lamaz throws his hat in the hair. And after a silver medal in the team event, look at the smile on his face. He's a gold medalist for Canada.
His win in China stamped him the first ever Canadian Olympic individual champion and put him in very exclusive company. At age 12, Hiksted was hardly ready to retire. But now, the whispers of Milton and Gem Twist and Big Ben started to follow him around. And like a true champion, he continued to deliver.
Perhaps maybe one of the most outstanding performances I've ever seen was when he was second. What was extraordinary was probably the two best horses maybe in the world, arguably, at the time, and I can argue the two best riders, McLean, Ward, and Eric. You know, in that great big field at Spruce Meadows, a horse like Hiksted, half the size of Sapphire, he has to sort of go twice as fast almost. They just were full bore, there was nothing left on the table. These two great horses and two great riders just basically tied. Someone had to win when the spirit on the horse.
3 obstacles left. Oxen the home stretch now. Come on, keep going left. And to the corner, he's going. No! 2/100ths of a second.
The Aachen Grand Prix in Europe is what the Masters Grand Prix is to us over here. You can't get any bigger than that other than the Olympic gold medal.
You know, Aachen, I mean, it's, you know, if you called, it's like winning Wimbledon, I mean, or maybe the Spruce Meadows like the U.S. Open. I mean, that you can't get two bigger things, and to win, I mean, winning Wimbledon, it's sort of the ultimate, and winning Aachen is the ultimate.
Grand Prix, Hiksted, Эрик Ламаз, Canada.
In the fall of 2010, the great Hiksted made his second appearance at the World Equestrian Games. His first in Germany 4 years prior had been as a precocious 10-year-old, still finding his way. On this day, in Lexington, Kentucky, one of the most decorated horses in the history of show jumping stepped onto the stage in one of the most unique events in all of sports. 4 horses, 4 riders. You must win with yours. And you must win with theirs.
We all figured Hiksted is going to be the game changer here. You know, no one will ride him.
It was difficult almost for everyone for those 2 fences that they jumped in the warm-up. Nobody had very good warm-up fences with him. But I knew that once he got on course, they would get the feel that he sort of took over and they should just be passenger and let him do his thing.
He almost looked like he was on autopilot with those guys. He just jumped around for fun.
On that grand October evening in Lexington, Kentucky, where every relevant person in the world of show jumping witnessed the greatness that was Hiksted, this incredible animal had now sent the horse historians scurrying to the record books. Olympic champion, winner of the CN International, champion at Aachen, and now WEG's best horse in the world. Show jumping champions rarely can have one without the other. The rider and the horse must become one. Eric and Hiksted were all of that, and more.
It was like hand in glove. Eric and Hiksted knew each other so well.
When you watched them go, you almost felt that Eric was born to ride Hiksted and Hiksted was born to be his horse.
They were so much the same. If you know Eric very well, he's kind of small too and competitive and tons of energy and a real fighter, and Hiksted was the same.
It's tough to get a combination that careful and brave.
Like all great champions, Hiksted loved the crowd, loved to perform, and on September 11th, 2011, at the age of 15, he stepped into the international ring in the richest class in the world and rode the noise one more time.
Listen to the effort from this little horse.
Turn back now at the south end of the stadium down this tricky line.
He's on, Ian. He is on.
His last win here in the CN, I think the second round the crowd just were so loud at every jump, and I just wishing in my head that they keep going because he just kept jumping higher and higher.
Trust the athleticness. Two fences.
I'm pretty sure he heard it, and it made a, you know, I really felt that it made a huge difference.
That might have been a horseshoe that just came off there.
It was his shoe coming off.
It doesn't matter.
Fourth leg of the Rolex FEI World Cup Jumping Championships 2011-2012, the series at Verona, Italy, was abandoned today following the sudden death of the stallion Hiksted. The Canadian partnership had just completed Rolf Lude's 13-fence track with a single rail down in the middle of the combination when Hiksted collapsed and died.
They called me kind of right away as it was happening, and I thought, I didn't think it was, it was difficult to process at that time.
He stood only 16 hands high, yet it was what was inside that was immeasurable. When he marched into a ring, everybody saw it. Everybody felt it. Everybody knew it.
When Hiksted coming here to show, and he come like this in the beginning, and you see the face of him when he come into the ring, was something that now I feel my skin, only to talk about this, my skin coming like this, when I see that horse coming like this, and coming to the ring, and the crowd, nobody talk, but everybody here.
I actually think it was almost a mental thing with the other riders. I think when they saw Eric and Hiksted, and especially in the jump off towards the end of the go, in their mind they're already fighting for second place.
You knew that the horse wasn't going to have a rail, and he was fast, so you knew that, you know, you had to give it a shot, but frankly you were probably, oh gee, second again.
I think it's the efforts more than anything that made Hiksted so wonderful.
It was not normal for a horse to come out every time and try like that. Like, it wasn't normal.
It is the rarest privilege in sports to be able to say, best of all time. For Eric Lamaz, John Dondy and Ashley Fleischacker, for Jerome Caron, Delphine Roustin and Torrey Pine Stables, for Canadian equestrian athletes and fans, we can all say in our own little way, we were a part of the best of all time, thanks to an amazing horse named Hiksted.
I don't think if you said he's the greatest show jumper of all time, anyone's going to argue with you.
When you look at his resume here, 77 starts in FEI competitions, 50 medals, 20 wins.
Hiksted, you know, really is done the job in his own way. He's done it his own way, and that's the way, and he did it so well for so long. You can't help but admire a horse like that.
I would put him the best the world has ever seen.
I think everybody saw the same thing. Whether you know nothing about horses or you're at the top of your game, you watched magic. You watched a horse giving everything he could for Eric. There was no secrets, no tricks. That horse just went in. They were a spectacular team, and we all got to watch history change.